Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday again, and Andy and I are here to do comic previews. We sat down and read all these fine books here, and we're going to tell you about them. We do this spoiler free, just so that way you can still have the enjoyment of getting all the
Yes.
surprises. But we do try to tell you what's significant about them in general and what we thought of the books. So, Andy, if you want to begin,
Yeah, so it wasn't a huge week for comics, but
it's a
in
holiday week.
it's a holiday week, and the numbers weren't huge, but there's some pretty big books individually that came out.
Yes.
So I want to start off with Dark Knight's Death Metal: Secret Origin. And so, of course, Secret Origin is kind of a term DC has used for many years. They've had their Secret Origin series and everything. Well, this is not necessarily the. I guess it does cover the origin, but is pretty much about Superboy Prime,
Very
which
interesting
a
character.
very interesting character. Not, I feel like a lot of modern readers maybe have not read anything with him in
He's
it
not
because
been around.
not since
Yeah.
Crisis on Infinite Earths and all that. But this kind of takes you through who he is. He is a kid named Clark Kent, and he lives in what's essentially our world. He reads comics, he collects comics, he goes to the comic book store, he sits in his room and bags and boards his comics. But people make fun of him because his name is Clark Kent, and they're like, "You're dumb," and Superman is indestructible, but you're not. And then they like throw a slushy on his head. But this is really interesting because if you've been reading Death Metal, he's a pretty big part in that because really, I don't know if there's anyone more powerful than him because he has the knowledge of these are all just characters. This is
Right.
a comic book. But he's in that world and he has Superman's power. So his kind of power comes from him being kind of apathetic about everything going on. He doesn't see things as real. But this definitely explores how it kind of humanizes him. And he does straight up take on the Batman Who Laughs or in his darkest night form.
Hmm.
Like he just straight up punches him. Super cool. I really like this issue. So it's written by Scott Snyder and Jeff Johns. This feels like some Jeff Johns' most classic writing. He is a big fan of the Silver Age of comics. This definitely has that feel. Um, a lot of heart in this. I mean, crypto's in it. What does this Superman from our world think about like crypto? And but I really really enjoyed it. And uh, pretty if you're reading the story, something pretty huge happened to it. So I'm surprised they put in this and not in the main thing. There's
Uh,
a pretty significant like when we get to the last issue, people may be wondering what happened with blank. Well, it actually shows you what happens in this. So I think it's a pretty important book and also a great standalone read as well for a really interesting character.
it seems like, this happened both in metal and death metal. Scott Snyder likes to do some surprises in the
Yeah.
side books. I mean, first appearance of Robin King, that's not
Uh huh.
in just the regular
Yeah.
one. And I think that's fun.
Right. Yeah. It kind of makes it. I don't know. It brings back some of that feel of like of the collecting of like, oh man, I got
Yeah.
to go get this one and everything. It's not as perfectly straightforward structured. So yeah, I really like
Well,
this
they
issue.
they definitely take advantage of our event book. It's not just in our world; it's a multiverse thing. So
Mm-hmm.
now we can tell all these tales we wanted to tell, like Superboy Prime. They probably talk about him all the time, and it's like finally we can get around to his origin. Why? It wouldn't make sense in regular continuity, but during this event, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I'll say it's a part that I loved in this issue where Jonathan Kent uh, in our world is sitting there bagging board in his comics, and his girlfriend comes in, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm disturbing you. I forgot it's Wednesday and new comics came out." Or wait, did they come out on Tuesdays? And she makes
Oh.
a reference to DC Comics come out on Tuesdays now. It is so meta, but it's done with like such love and great for fans of comics because there's a lot of hidden gems in the background of old comics and everything. Really, really cool.
All right, so let me get to Marvel's big book of the week. So we were saying earlier, it's a little bit of a small week in comics as far as volume,
Mm-hmm.
but King in Black 2 came out this week. I dare say it's probably the biggest book of the week. So I had a chance to read it. It is not as breakneck speed as number one,
Mm-hmm.
which, that's probably good. You don't want all your comics immediately involving the Avengers and the X-Men and Doctor Strange and,
Mm-hmm.
getting to see what happens with all them. So this one, the story slows down a little bit. At the end of the first, Eddie went for a little fall. Well, his fall ends in this one.
There's
That's
a bottom.
the most I can say about it. Yeah, his fall does end, and you get to discover the fate of what's happened to the Avengers and the X-Men and everybody that was fighting Null in the first issue, because they were left sort of in dire straits, and you get to see what becomes of that. And I'm not saying it's easy to view. It isn't all cheerful and happy. I'll say that. I mean, this issue, Null's forces, they're just like stomping everyone. They
Yeah.
were the first issue. This issue, they kind of stomp everyone. And so it pulls back, and you get to see here are the heroes who are still left. Here's the like small team of them that haven't been
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed. And they're coming up with a plan. They got a pretty good plan going on. Dylan comes back into play finally.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us didn't want to see Dylan just sideline this whole
No, because
event.
he's been so important.
Yeah, and he's got new powers.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't really gotten to see him use those powers very much in Venom yet. Well, anyway, so that Dylan does come into play in this, and I'll also say the letters column is very interesting because something important happens at the end of this. Something very climactic. Those of you who read news, you might already know what it is. But what I thought was interesting, the letters comment talks about how they had planned the end of this issue for over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And all the stuff going on in Venom, everything, this was like the guiding point. They said
Wow.
this was like the North Star point that they kept heading towards through everything.
Yeah.
So I'll still have to see where things go because it's left a little unresolved. But definitely a cool issue.
And if it's 5 parts, like it's gonna get really big. We're just building up to probably an all out.
Yeah, it's clipping along. So here are two variants that we have. This is the U variant, which is the connecting one. So this will connect with the connecting from issue one, and there'll be 3 more of these that all you put them all together and see what it's all about.
I'm wondering what's going to be after that one because it's like Null and the Avengers are on the first two, and the rest is just like background.
And this is the Shalvey spoiler variant. And what I will say is, this doesn't really spoil as much as you would think, to tell you the truth. So I think they could have shown that one, and it wouldn't have honestly been that much of a spoiler because there's more to it than what you just saw.
Yeah, they've been kind of doing that well with spoilers. It's like if you know, you get what they're talking about, but if you just look at it and you don't know, it doesn't. You don't go, oh well.
Yeah, I said there was a surprise end. That's not the surprise end. All right, what else we got?
So another really big book in size and what it represents is King Size Conan. Number 1. This is celebrating 50 years of Conan at Marvel. Now, I don't know if they are counting all the years that Conan wasn't at Marvel. I wonder if they're adding the first few and then the last few. But this is really cool. This is a collection of short stories by, the first one is Roy Thomas, the original writer of Conan at Marvel. And he does a story that takes place before his first issue. It leads right up to the point where the first issue starts.
Wow.
And I thought it was fun. There's some stuff discussed in it that like we have the classic cover of Conan with his helmet that has the horns on it and all of that. That stuff doesn't really ever come back into play in Conan, but someone in here goes, "Hey, what's up with that helmet? What's up with what you're wearing?" Like it kind of explains all the stuff years later. There is a Chris Claremont story, which I thought was really interesting. And probably the one people are going to be talking about is the Kevin Eastman story. So
it's his first writing ever for Marvel.
Yes, which shocked me. I thought maybe they surely brought him in for a Spider-Man story here or there, but no, this is his first Marvel credited job, and he does the writing and the art on it. So it very much looks like your classic Ninja Turtles, the original Mirage Comics Ninja Turtles time frame. The chunky inks and the
Yeah.
gritted teeth and a lot of fighting, a lot of
Very underground art looking.
very underground art
Yeah.
looking. So it's really cool. Conan kind of looks like Casey Jones, but I just think that's a really cool thing is to see Kevin Eastman doing a Marvel story, and then the last story in it I thought was really cool too. That is a story with Belit, the Queen of the Black Coast, um, and plus it gives you in the letters page a hint at what's coming up in the next year with Conan, with the return of King Conan,
That's awesome.
which a new series is going to be coming out. So overall, this is a let's see, how much was this one? This is a $6.99 book, but definitely if you're a fan of Conan and just like classic one-off Conan stories of him just punching his way and swinging his sword through monsters and pirates, this is awesome.
And it truly is giant size.
It is giant size. It is
in page count.
So we have a few variants for this. This is the Carlos Pacheco variant. We have the
Halloween mask variant.
Oh, I'm Conan.
Go trick or treating as a.
This is the Todd Knock. What were they calling these? Headshot.
Yeah, the headshot
variants.
variant.
So close you can smell his nasty breath. We have the 1 in 10, which is really cool. This is the Kevin Eastman design variant. So you kind of get a hint there what his Conan looks like. It's got a very like 80s rocker hair.
What were you selling it for?
This one is $15, and it's the 1 in 10.
If you like Kevin Eastman, by Crom, you need that one.
You've been waiting to use by Crom in
Yes.
a sentence.
Every day. I get to do it once.
This is a really pretty. This is the 1 in 25 Jusco variant for only $20. A really pretty painted cover. You can see kind of the tentacle on the background and everything. Really, really cool. Great book.
Okay, so back to King in Black, or at least a King in Black tie-in. So Spider-Woman number 7 is a King in Black tie-in. You see in the corner there the little symbol about that. So this issue begins where Jessica Drew, she is poisoned. Her blood is poisoned. That's some of Spider-Woman. She's trying to cure it for herself and for people who are related to her who might have got it. I think her nephew, her son, and so. She gets sidetracked because guess what? Nolan and his forces show up. There are symbiote dragons everywhere. So she happens to be near Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Hawkeye, who she does not like. That's her ex, by the way.
Yeah.
She hates working with Hawkeye. And Captain Marvel, who is sort of her ex-best friend.
Mm-hmm.
So they all team up. They have to take on some Null beasts. It's pretty cool. That's just the first, third of the issue, though. What happens after that is the serum that Jessica Drew's on is making her kind of crazy, so she's kind of emotionally spilling out at these people who have angered her, like Hawkeye and particularly Captain Marvel. It gets bad. She starts a fight with all of them. She attacks Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Captain Marvel, and Hawkeye, and is kind of kicking their butts.
That's a gutsy move.
Well, they're trying to hold back a little and at least fighting her one at a time, but I couldn't believe it. I'm reading the book, I'm like, Null's attacking, and she's just going wild. So, if you want to see just a cool battle amongst heroes, that's the time for that book. Past that, it does go further than that. There's a lot of harsh words that are spilled out. I'll say that. There's a lot of mean comments. There's some bad blood there between Jessica Drew and Captain Marvel. You also, I'd say the most significant thing about the tie-in as far as for the overall King in Black, you do find out where is Captain Marvel and why isn't she just flying right at Null? They do explain that. There is a plan there as to why she's not around.
Yeah.
So
I think it's cool they explore that, like why.
Where are the most powerful characters?
Yeah. Why aren't some of the huge, big?
And for those reading Thor, it's actually brought up in King of Black number 2. Somebody's like, "Where's Thor?" Well, if you're reading Thor, Thor is not available right now.
He's kind of out of commission.
Donald Blake is available. I'll tell you, I saw at the end of King in Black 2, there's a picture of the cover of King in Black 3, and it looks like a Thor-like person fighting Null. This isn't a
Hmm.
spoiler. This is a cover that's released. But yeah, I think it might be Donald Blake.
That would be super weird. Like,
Yeah.
but
I'll have to show you after the
they're
show.
both Donny Cates,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
he can pull from his own story all he wants.
All right. So what's next?
So next up, book I did not get to read yet, but has just been awesome, and I've been reading it. This is Spawn number 313. So if you can tell there, we have a really awesome Christmas cover where Violator
Violator
is
Santa.
Violator Santa coming down the chimney to bring you probably a bag full of heads or something.
People you know.
Um,
And just some puppies.
so Spawn's been really great, and one of the reasons it's really great, it has some really cool variant covers. So first off, we have, I believe this issue may be, I know we've had Omega Spawn, a form of Omega Spawn, but I think this Spawn is new for this issue. So really big hulking kind of Spawn. And then this is the big one. This is...
Was it Plague Spawn?
Plague Spawn.
Yeah. That's definitely
So, yeah, it even says at the bottom, he is coming, Plague Spawn. So, you get some hints in here about Plague Spawn, but this is probably his first appearance on this cover. So really, really cool. McFarlane loves just making every weird little version of Spawn he can. And then we have the Incentive Black and White variant for only $12. Really cool. You can see Plague Spawn really well in that one. So if you're not reading Spawn, I highly recommend it. It's firing on all cylinders right now. Some of its best it's ever been.
Our friend Garrett is saying that Plague Spawn looks kind of nullified.
It's the Spawn nullified variant. Yes.
We'll have to see if they all show up in crossover.
Oh, that's where it all ends.
Okay, so the last one I have to go over today is Vault Comics is releasing a new series called The Picture of Everything Else. So that is taking off of course, the picture of Dorian Gray. So whatever happened to the artist that drew the picture of Dorian Gray? I think that this is sort of going into that character a little bit. I read it. It is very wordy. If you like your comics a little bit more like literature, that is the way they went with this. This takes place in the very late 1800s. In fact, it's just 3 years before the turn of the century. And it follows a group of artists, some of which are so poor that they kind of go to art shows to see what they can steal. like not even necessarily the pictures, but like trinkets.
Wow.
Yeah, and they have a long conversation that I think some of you would find interesting and some of you might find very dull about the effect of photography, frame photography, and if that is going to take over portrait art.
Yeah, I think that was a real big discussion at the time.
For sure, yeah, because that's what people were, photography was sort of on the rise. Okay, so all that's happening, and it's all very, very, very well written. But then you get to this character, this weird artist, because this takes place in Paris, and it's some British artist that they don't really know, and he has a power. He has the power to paint people's portraits, and then rip them up if he wants, and if he does, guess what? They get ripped up, and I don't mean later. I mean immediately.
As he does it. Ooh.
So without revealing too much more, because there's so much more in just the writing of this. It's very character driven. When he is discovered, do they stop him, or are they allured and want to become sort of his pupil? You'll just have to read to see. So it has two variants. Here is the bleeding, slashed up portrait variant, and then here is the razor blade that did the ripping variant. So, yep, that's a new series from Vault Comics. So is that it? Anything else?
I have one more.
All right.
Talk about.
That's right.
Department of Truth number 4. This could be one of our hottest selling independent series from James Tynion and Image Comics. If you haven't picked this up yet, it's basically what if every conspiracy theory or kind of urban legend or whatever was true because people believed in them. It's not a spoiler to kind of tell you now, but and what does that mean? And it's kind of horrifying when you think about it. And this is about the Department of Truth, who kind of tries to mitigate that and control it. So there's people who kind of try to sway the populace into thinking one thing or another. All the while, it's focusing on this main character who kind of has a past, and he's learning all this for the first time. Um, it goes into some really crazy conspiracy theories. Um, starting with flat Earth,
Yeah.
and then goes into uh, celebrities eating babies, and it just goes crazy places. The art is nuts too, but still easy to follow. Just very, it definitely has just a whole tone. It knows what it is. The art definitely matches the story. So just want to tell you that issue 4 is out. A lot of people are really excited about this, and it also has some really cool variants, like this one, which I'm definitely getting, which is the Trad Moore variant. Luther Strode's Trad Moore, really crazy cover. You really got to look at it to figure out
And
all
Silver
the
Surfer Black.
and Silver Surfer Black, yeah. Then we have the 1 in 10 variant for only $12 with just the most horrifying looking
Oh my
creature
goodness.
ever. Just so nightmarish, which is kind of what that character is in this. That is a real character in this book. And then, if you need to see a better picture of him,
This is pretty cool.
so this is a cover by Jeff Lemire. This is the 1 in 25 variant for only $25. And it looks like it's just drawn kind of with a big pen on notebook paper, but really, really creepy.
Very Lemire style.
Yes. So, yes, that is Department of Truth issue number 4. I believe that is all I have.
Yep, that is our week. So, not the largest week, but still some really noteworthy things. With the King in Black still rolling out, King Size Conan, what a cool one. And Department of Truth, one of the most original indie books
Yep.
that's come out in a few years.
Along with a lot of titles we didn't show you, but that are continuing.
Yeah.
We have the last issue of Batman Beyond that
Right.
came out.
Mhm.
I believe the last issue of Red Hood.
Yep.
So a lot of DC books are wrapping up before they have Future State come in just a week or so, about 2 weeks, I believe.
Future State, what's that?
Man, I wish there was a full show where they just told you everything about it.
Yeah,
Tune in Fridays.
Yeah, go back a few shows, and we talk so much about Future State. We'll probably continue doing it.
Yeah, so a lot of really cool stuff came out this week that you're probably on pull for that you'll be getting as well. So,
for those of you watching live, we see all your requests. Megan's going to handle all that, so we'll deal with that. Those of you watching it later on YouTube, thank you very much. Subscribe, keep watching the videos, and we'll keep putting them out.
mm-hmm.
So until next week, this is Jason and Andy signing off from Infinity Flux.